The American West evokes images of rugged individualism, vast landscapes, and the pursuit of freedom. It is a land where countless stories of pioneers and settlers have been told and retold. Yet, some stories remain hidden, tucked away in the annals of history, waiting to be unearthed. One such story is that of the Prairieleut, a group of Hutterites who ventured into the Dakota Territory in the late 19th century. This video delves into the history of the Prairieleut, exploring their origins, cultural practices, and the challenges they faced in adapting to American life. In coming to the United States, those Hutterites wishing to re-establish a communal lifestyle bought large acreages and settled in river-bottom land, but those who established individual homes and farms chose to live on the open prairie and thus came to be called Prairieleut. The Prairieleut, meaning prairie people, were distinct from their communal Hutterite brethren. While both groups shared common Anabaptist roots and a commitment to pacifism, the Prairieleut diverged in their approach to land ownership and community organization. This decision was rooted in their experiences in Russia, where most Hutterites had given up communal agricultural settlements for significant periods of time and had chosen to farm individual farmlands adjacent to each other, and was influenced by the American ideal of individual land ownership. The story of the Prairieleut begins not in America, but in the heart of Imperial Russia. Hutterites, a communal Anabaptist group with roots in 16th century Europe, had found refuge in Russia during the 18th century. They were granted religious freedom and exemption from military service, leading to a period of relative peace and prosperity. However, this period of tranquility was short-lived. By the mid-19th century, Tsarist policies shifted, threatening the Hutterites' way of life. Facing conscription and cultural assimilation, many Hutterites began to look westward, seeking a new home where they could preserve their faith and traditions. The Dakota Territory, with its vast expanses of fertile land and promises of religious freedom, beckoned as a beacon of hope. In 1874, the first wave of Hutterites arrived in the Dakota Territory, followed by subsequent waves over the next few years. Not all these pioneers were seeking to establish isolated communal colonies. Instead, majority of them were drawn to the idea of individual farmsteads, a model that had become increasingly common among Hutterites in Russia. Prairieleut maintained the Hutterite belief that a component of salvation was done in a community, and this was accomplished by organizing their own church congregations. And their arrival in the Dakota Territory marked the beginning of a new chapter in their story, one filled with both promise and hardship. The Dakota Territory in the 1870s was a land of stark beauty and unforgiving challenges. The vast prairie stretched endlessly before the newly arrived Prairieleut, a stark contrast to the familiar landscapes of their homeland. The harsh winters, scorching summers, and unpredictable weather patterns tested their resilience, demanding adaptation and innovation. Yet they persevered, drawing strength from their faith, community, and the unwavering belief in a brighter future. The Prairieleut quickly set about establishing homesteads, transforming the untamed prairie into fertile fields. They planted crops, raised livestock, and built homes, relying on their agricultural skills and traditions passed down through generations. Their settlements, scattered across the Dakota Territory, were often miles apart, connected by dirt roads and a shared sense of community. Even the Amish had attempted to settle in what is now North Dakota, only to give up until more recently. I have a video on that below. Now, despite the isolation, the Prairieleut maintained a strong sense of community. They gathered regularly for religious services, weddings, and other social events, finding solace and support in their shared faith and traditions. Churches, often simple wooden structures, served as the heart of their communities, providing a space for worship, fellowship, and the preservation of their cultural heritage. Despite their decision to embrace individual farmsteads, the Prairieleut remained deeply rooted in their Hutterite heritage. They continued to speak Hutterisch, a distinct dialect of German, and adhered to many of the religious and cultural practices that had defined their community for centuries. Their faith, a blend of Anabaptist theology and Hutterite traditions, emphasized pacifism, communal harmony, and a simple agrarian lifestyle. Religious services were conducted in Hutterisch, following the traditional Hutterite liturgy. They sang hymns from the Ausbund, a 16th century hymnal, and listened attentively to sermons delivered by elected ministers. Their religious practices provided a sense of continuity and connection to their past, offering solace and guidance in a rapidly changing world. The Prairieleut also maintained many of their traditional customs in daily life. Initially, they wore plain clothing, reflecting their belief in simplicity and humility. Women typically wore long dresses and head coverings, while men donned simple shirts and trousers. Education was highly valued within the Prairieleut community. However, as the Prairieleut children interacted more with their non-Hutterite peers in public schools, they began to absorb American values and customs, leading to generational tensions and the gradual erosion of some traditional practices. Families embraced individual farmsteads because settling on individual farms in the Dakota Territory was thought by most Hutterites to be a similar form of Anabaptist Christianity that they knew from Russia, and further a valid form of Hutterite Christianity. And this came with its own set of challenges and opportunities. Despite these challenges, the Prairieleut found ways to support each other. Community gatherings and shared labor events such as barn raisings became essential for survival and for maintaining a sense of community. These events were not just practical but also social, reinforcing bonds and shared identity. In the 19th century, the Prairieleut had a sincere vision of preserving authentic historic Hutterite way of life, which they had learned and practiced in Russia, and where they did not live communally. However, American land ownership practices made connected land purchases often difficult, as did the possibility of developing their own isolated villages. Further, they had to contend with the attraction of an individualistic American way of life and be challenged by their brethren in communal communities that their choice was spiritually incomplete. Thus, in the post-First World War era, Prairieleut sought more social acceptance from non-Hutterite neighbors and became estranged from their communal relatives who retained old-fashioned modes of dress. In the book, The Prairie People, Forgotten Anabaptists, Ron Jansen says, ultimately, the Prairieleut's choice in favor of private ownership of property turned out to be an endorsement of a slow but progressive movement away from other Hutterian traditions as well. Unfortunately, moving away from Hutterite traditions, the Prairieleut have been forgotten. Communal Hutterites have received considerable public attention, study, and scholarly analysis. However, the Prairieleut Hutterites have been almost completely ignored and overlooked and are relatively unknown even to contemporary Anabaptist and Mennonite scholars. Thank you for watching, and let me know your thoughts on the Prairieleut. Please like and share. Your support is greatly appreciated, and check out some of my other videos and see you in the next one.